Hi all. The topic for this week is NPO, which is non-profit organization regarding its concepts and development. For this week, we will discuss its definitions and NPO theories, including social origin theory and new public management. Then we will see NPOs in Korea. So let's start with the definition of civil society, which is the space of voluntary associations and activities that exist in relative separation from the state and market. When it comes to NPO, it is a specific category of associational life in civil society and usually defined by their high levels of formality in terms of legal registration by the preponderance of external funding in their budget and by their roles as intermediaries that sit between grassroots constituencies and communities and government and other agencies. The important thing is that NPOs require a legal registration, external funding, and roles as intermediaries between communities and government. So, when we look at the legal registration in depth, in the United States, charitable nonprofits and organizations must have legal and charitable purposes. They have to follow state laws for establishment. If organization's purpose meets the description in 501c3 of Internal Revenue Code, they can be categorized as nonprofit tax exempt. In Korea, nonprofits should follow Assistance for Nonprofit Non-Governmental Organization Act and register to relevant ministers and local authorities. And this allows a state what are referred as NPOs. The first is that direct beneficiaries of its businesses shall be many and unspecified persons. Second, no profit shall be distributed among its members. Third, it has not been actually established or operated primarily to support or assist any specific political party or candidates in election or to spread a creed of any specific religion. Fourth, the number of its regular members shall be at least 100. Fifth, it has actual results from public interest activities for the preceding on year or more. Sixth, where it is not a juristic person but an organization, it shall have a representative or a manager. Also, this is a brief overview of Assistance for Nonprofit Non-Governmental Organization Act that we will look at it in depth in class. So NPO's activities can be categorized into three types. The first is providing public services in specific areas where government or market cannot reach out. The second is providing public services that are delegated from central or local governments. It can be either through authority delegation or government grants. The third is activities for influencing policy decisions of government, private corporations, and other non-profit organizations that deals with human rights, consumer protection, and environment protection. Also, there are ways to categorize NPOs based on financing and control. Financing includes whether nonprofits receive most of their income in the forms of grants or donations, or whether they receive their income from prices charged for their services. And control means whether nonprofits are controlled by their patrons or by a self perpetuating board or directors. A donative financing and mutual control categories include American Red Cross, and commercial financing and mutual control includes a country club. Entrepreneur control and commercial financing includes art museums, and commercial financing and entrepreneur control include child care centers. And let's look at the theories related to NPOs. The first is a social origin theory that suggests four different non-profit regime types. The first is a liberal regime, meaning that low government social welfare spending and a large non-profit sector. The exemplary case is the United States. The second is social democratic regime, which means extensive state services and smaller numbers of service provided by NPOs. The example is Scandinavia countries. The third is corporatist, which is broad, uh, broad-based social benefits and a long tradition of state-supported organizations in an extensive non-profit sector. An example is Germany's case. The last one is a statist, meaning that a government exercises substantial power and autonomy, but rarely on behalf of lower income groups, so that both social benefits and the NPO sector tend to be limited. An exemplary case for this is Japan. And for the case of Korea, you may wonder where it belongs. It can be categorized into statistic model, where the nonprofit is growing, but not as much as to complement the lack of government social spending. The next one is new public management. It is a restructuring of public management using market oriented strategies to provide for social needs and to increase the effectiveness, efficiency, and responsiveness of public services. The major characteristics include competitive contracting for services, public private partnership, the use of vouchers among purchasers, more consumer choices, and citizen engagement. The way it influenced NPO is that NPOs become increasingly funded through contracts to provide public services, such as community care, home health care for elderly. Also, neighborhood-based NPOs increased that provide citizens the opportunities to participate in governance. There are limitations regarding social origin theory and new public management. The first limitation is the importance of nonprofits in other fields such as art, sports, and recreation and social clubs are ignored. So, when it comes to the case of a labor union, although it is not part of nonprofits in Sweden, which is one of the Scandinavian countries, it is considered as a form of a voluntary participation by citizenry. And also in the area of art in Sweden, although the size of a welfare nonprofit is small, nonprofit for art and recreation is are well developed. And the second is that social origin theory categorizes the categories of the social origin theory are difficult to explain non-profits in developing countries. And these categories does not reflect the struggles and efforts that developing countries go through. And then what about NPOs in Korea? So let's look at the registered NPOs in Korea first. In 2023, at central levels, there are around 1,500, and at local levels, there are around 13,000. So that's gonna be it's a total of approximately 14 uh, for the uh, the total will be around 14,000. Okay, that's gonna be the number of NPOs in Korea. So among central government agencies, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Unification, Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, Ministry of Welfare, Ministry of Women and Family have the most registered NPOs. And among local governments, Gyeonggi-do has the largest number of registered NPOs. And the history of Korean NPOs shows that the growth of NPOs was due to the economic growth and development of middle class after the economic development. And there has been three major types of NPOs from the history of Korea. The first is advocacy-oriented activities, where dissident intellectuals and students fought for a reduction of government authoritarian power. The second is education and service-oriented organizations. Examples are Asan Foundation in 1977 and Samsung Welfare Foundation in 1989, which had non-political character and which played a significant role in providing public goods and social services. The third is quasi-governmental organizations, which are organizations functioned as governmental agencies to mobilize people for national development. So when we categorize NPOs by categories, there are associations, foundations, and corporations under special laws. So associations are the most popular type of NPOs that obtain the status by applying through the registration procedures to the relevant ministries. And the important thing is that only a registered association has a legal capacity. Foundation is also a popular form of NPOs, which is under the category of a public interest corporation, and they provide scholarships or educational funds. The third is corporations under special laws, and this includes private school corporations, social welfare corporations, or medical corporations. So this was it. So those are so as a summary. Uh, Today's topic was about nonprofit organization, and we discussed its meanings and one of the models to categorize this nonprofit organizations. And then we move on to the nonprofit organization theories. And the first one was the social origin theories, a theory which categorized countries by the spending of the governments on welfare or the roles of nonprofits. And the next one was about new public management, and this theory strongly explains the development of nonprofit organizations with the increase of government contracts. And then we've also take the took we also uh, took a look at NPOs in Korea as well. So the total numbers and also the one of the ways to categorize these NPOs in the history of Korea was discussed. So this is it for today, and let's see you all at the class.